Good evening, everyone. This is RJ again, back in effect, live and back at you. It's been a 2 week hiatus. Thanksgiving, Scooch needed an extra week to digest some turkey, and Book and Bear needed a
Yes.
little bit of time to get done with some apples and some avocado toast. And I'm here. I've just been doing a little R&R. So, welcome to the Walk Around Table. I'm glad to be back with you. So, let's go around. Scooch, introduce yourself.
Jeff Walker Sr., Papa J.
I'm Jeffrey Jr., Bobby.
And I am Justin.
Scoosh, Book, and Bear. Bear, what is the topic for this evening? What are we talking about?
So the topic is, what is something that you are grateful for that you experienced in your childhood that kids today might never get to experience?
That's a good topic.
Now, who
Yeah,
wants to go? I got a good one. Who wants to go first? I know I'll just say I got a real good one in here.
I got a
I'll,
few.
I'll go.
Ron Daddy, so you can, start us off, Daddy.
Go,
All
Pop.
right, here we go. Here we go. Here's something that you guys probably won't experience, young kids probably won't experience in school, and that's the many shop classes that I had taken that were mandatory when I was coming up in junior high school and in high school.
Auto shop.
Auto shop,
I
wood
had
shop,
auto shop.
electrical shop, metal
I had
shop.
a
Yep.
wood shop class
I
in middle
had
school.
I had auto shop, metal shop. It was the last year though. It was the
Yeah.
last year.
Kids won't experience these things. I'm telling you, man. And this just came to mind when this subject came up. I was down in the garage working on some stuff. And I said, these kids will never experience getting on a table saw or getting on a bandsaw and hacking up some wood or some stuff like that. They will never experience that because probably the liability. But
But you
man, we
know,
had the full gamut of every tool in junior high school. We had a wood shop that was fully loaded. It had benches, it had two table saws, full length table saws, band saws, every tool, every hand tool that you would use to create almost any wooden project. And
yeah,
you
Daddy,
talk
hold on.
about, go ahead.
That, but like, you know what is kind of crazy though? I think that's actually kind of turning around
Mhm.
because, I'm teaching, and a lot of these kids are not trying to, a lot of kids are foregoing college and going into trades. So I
Mhm.
think a lot of that stuff, as far as like wood shop, even though they may not have started early, like in middle school and high school and learn this kind of stuff, they're trying to take this on as like a trade, going to trade school more, instead of going to college more. And so they're trying to get into that now.
You
Yeah.
got to get your
That
hands
that
dirty. That's the key. That's what
oh,
I did. I went to trade school. Got my hands dirty.
Did you get your hands dirty? What you did?
What was
Bob,
your
you know all
trade,
about it. We're
Ron?
not talking about me.
What was
Go
your
ahead,
Oh,
trade?
wait,
Pop.
let's go back to Daddy. Daddy,
Go
the,
ahead,
the
Pop.
master carpenter.
hey, when I was in junior high school, I mean, this was a mandatory core subject in order to get out of get out of high school. Yeah, get out of high school. You had to have one of these trade school type subjects. And man, let me tell you, it taught me so much on how to fix things around the house, how to use tools, how to create tools, how to do all of those things. And now that, I'm retired, I look for projects like that, and it's surprising how much of those skills come back. But man, these kids these days, Justin, you said they're coming back, but I think there was a whole era where they didn't have any of these they call them electives now, but back then they weren't. These electives that they never had, never will have, and now they're, just out there. Now all of those skills are in demand. I mean, you look at metal and welding and, wood and all of those things. Those are in such high demand. I mean, I see kids, I call them kids, these younger adults coming through the neighborhood, as apprentices, HVAC, air conditioning. I'm looking at these guys and I'm like, how old are you? Coming into the house fixing things, and they had to start out as a young kid coming up. But, I experienced all of those things. And I can remember, the class itself was not just it was almost an hour and a half long class. The instructor was a craftsman, you know, and he taught you from start to finish. And you needed little or no money to get your supplies to get into these classes. Little or no money. Couple dollars to purchase some supplies, and you were off and running, and you were building something to bring home, you know. Fun, and I think they held a lot of value, but the schools now won't offer these things. And I think these kids will miss that. But that's something that I experienced that I wish that it could be moved forward and some kids can experience that. Hopefully they will. But
I wanted to say something about that. So hold on, let me just stop here and take a moment to give our daddy his props. This man is a master carpenter. I don't know if there's ever been a thing that at least that's broken our house growing up
Mhm.
that he didn't know how to fix. And then,
Craftsman.
yeah, I mean,
Show Diddy,
and
show him the
then,
chessboard.
huh? Oh
Hey,
yeah,
well,
he just built a
let's give Scooch a
chessboard.
clap. Let's give him a hand clap. Let's go ahead, Pop.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Clap your hands, Bobby. Go.
Oh
Come on
yeah.
now. All right.
So
One.
he
well,
Good
he
job.
yeah, Daddy. I mean, he's a master carpenter, has built so many things. I could list them all. I don't know if you might be getting a little embarrassed about it, but he built that chessboard, um, recently, and so many things throughout the house, over the houses over the years. And I always say that I never got those skills. I held a couple of two by fours while he was drilling and building things. But I guess it started during those wood shop and metal shop days. The other thing that I wanted to say was me and Justin took the same wood shop and metal shop classes in middle school, so we made the same lamp and brought
Mhm.
that home. So, it was two of those same exact
Justin
lamps.
still works.
Justin still works.
It's
Yeah.
somewhere
It's
upstairs
in the
in
closet.
like a closet somewhere. It's like I think if like I think it needs like a little rewiring or something.
Yeah.
But it's
Yes,
still in
it
working
still
order, I
works.
think.
Just needs
I
a
made the
switch.
same one, and then a metal napkin holder. Did you make that one too?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So those are valuable classes. I wish they did have those
Yeah.
for kids because give them a lot of options. You never know what you want to do and the things that you like unless you're exposed to them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just one thing though, as I got older and, I started having you guys and all that, me and your mama had no money, none, zero. We were broke. So when things broke around the house, you had to fix them. It wasn't a question of calling somebody. You had to figure it out, fix it, and move on. But
Yeah.
that took on another, as I got interested in a lot of things, and looking at, wanting to put something in a place where I thought something could fit. I kind of had an eyeball for trying to put it there. So, um, those things I thought were valuable, and they carried on. I think, by watching the old guys, my grandfather. He used to build bird houses of all things. I could see this 80-year-old guy in the backyard building a little bird house, and he used to feed the birds in his backyard in the hood, you know. So I think I got a little bit of that skill set, but I wish that stuff could be passed along. But I see it now, I see some of these kids coming through the neighborhood, like I said, and I mean, they ain't too much out of high school, coming up into these houses, fixing air conditioners and you name it, they're fixing it. And, it's something that is valuable. Make a lot of money.
Well, here's something for you. Let me say this. I'll say, I'll give you your props, Daddy, because I always said that I never really thought I was like a good handyman, right? Until I started, when my daughter was born and doing things for her mother, right? And then when I got my own home, I think some of those skill, like I mean, like some of those skill sets that I took shop. I was fortunate before the program. I mean, this is what 26 years ago. before they phased that program out of NPS when I was at Vincent. I took mechanical, I took welding, and I took some other stuff. And that actually came into play because then when I got into the automotive industry, I was able to work on cars, right? Um, a little bit, right? I was an appraiser, so I got to work on engines and see how things tinkered, and we got to mess with stuff. But then I think that you being kind of this master craftsman, like I've been a derivative of that to where I'm pretty good with my hands. Like I'm pretty good. Like I'm kind of maniacal. Like I won't just start a project like you or get a table saw, but if I start putting things together, I get very committed to it because it's like a lot of things in the house that y'all probably don't even know that I put together for one reason or another. You know what I mean? And they've turned out right? Or things that I fix. Usually I'll call if I need something to fix, I'll call you, you walk me through. But I remember like even just wiring that TV up. You remember when we hung that new TV up
Yeah.
and I had to like I had went behind you and rewired it. And I'm like, I didn't know I could do that. You know what I mean? Maybe some of this wisdom is kind of trickling down from God. So,
I bet,
Bobby,
Ryan, I bet you get frustrated putting together toys or trying
Bobby,
to.
Bobby, don't
No,
hate.
no.
Don't hate. This
All right,
Hey,
man.
well,
this is
wait.
this is
Well, wait.
reminiscent of a certain someone that shall remain nameless that always say that he played overseas. But I'm
Oh,
like, but I'm like,
you know
really?
what?
Did you really do that?
All right, we're gonna have to
Hey,
move
you better
on.
move on.
Yeah, we got to move on. All right, Justin,
Woo.
what's one from your list?
One from my list. Um, I got a couple things.
So let's do like
So
maybe a round robin first.
yeah, so playing outside.
Hmm.
Like one thing that I feel like kids nowadays don't experience is playing outside. Um, I feel like when we were kids, the biggest and most funnest part of our day in school was recess, right? And like you couldn't get enough recess when you were in school. And like growing up in our neighborhood, like me and Quentin playing basketball outside all the time, like it was one of those things where I felt like it was a major staple of a childhood experience to be able to play outside and just to have fun outside all day. And I feel like these kids don't do that. There's like a huge disconnect from them wanting to be outside to the point where, being outside makes them uncomfortable. Being inside all the time on their phones is how they have fun now. And, a part of me is like, it kind of like weirds me out a little bit because like, especially like when I used to teach at my old school, a lot of kids like we had recess every Friday, and a lot of these kids like really detested recess. They like, oh, why do I gotta go outside? I'm like, don't y'all want some fresh air? I mean, y'all get to get out the building and run around a little bit, at least get a breeze on your face or something. Like y'all don't want no fresh air, y'all don't want no time outside. And it's like, I mean, I get that it's hot, that it's Texas heat, but it's like, all right, we only out there for a few minutes, and it's like, even when days that it's nice, they just didn't, a lot of them just didn't want to go outside nowhere. And so I feel like that's a pastime that's kind of lost amongst kids today because I feel like they're so hooked on social media and technology that, you know, them being indoors is like their new comfort zone and they don't want to break out of that. Um, so that's one thing that I feel like that I'm grateful that our generation got to experience, because I don't really see it happening anymore. Even like amongst like little kids, like you really don't see little kids playing outside like they used to. Um,
You go to the playground down the road, right down the street.
yeah,
It's bare. Swing
yeah.
sets, no kids on them. They even got a track down there that you can walk on, and
And it's always adults. It's never any kids or
kids out there.
anybody. Yeah, never kids. It's always adults like running outside or jogging or something like that. but you'll never see kids playing outside.
Ooh.
So another thing, I can like list off a few things really quick before we go to the next person. Um, Cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons. Like one thing that kids don't have, I don't think they have is like Saturday morning cartoons. Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, all of those cartoons that we grew up looking at. Like a lot of these kids have no concept of a Saturday morning cartoon that they get to wake up on like on the weekends to watch. And I feel like that type of thing is it kind of defines a childhood, like the innocence of watching a cartoon, instead of watching something that could be, scandalous, online. Because I feel like, that was our, entertainment. That was like the main staple of a child's entertainment was Saturday morning cartoons. Like you waited until the weekend to watch your favorite Saturday morning cartoon. And now these kids are watching, content online that they most likely shouldn't be watching. And to me, I feel like it's something that is kind of damaging. Um, but those are a couple of things. And I'll end it with one more. And I would say sitcoms. Television sitcoms that we grew up on, like Fresh Prince, Martin, um, BT, Wayans Brothers, Jamie Foxx show, all of these like black family sitcom shows
Cosby's.
that Cosby's, all of these sitcom shows that we grew up on that kind of was a great example or a great mold for how you know, family that is always together kind of looks like. I feel like was a good template. Even though it was entertainment, it was a good template for, families sticking together and, you know, it was something that I mean, like, even if Fresh Prince was uh a fictional show, even though the Cosby's were a fictional show, it still was one of those shows where it's like black people could aspire to be like, I want my family to look something like this, right? And I feel like that's kind of gone now. Like, because I don't
So
really feel like those
genre,
sitcom.
like the sitcom, the black sitcom, you feel like is gone, or you haven't seen any?
I mean, I don't think I've seen anything on that level to the point where like it's a. I mean, what was the last like black family sitcom? Like Blackish?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Black
Yeah,
was the
Like,
last one. Was the last one that was like that. But
A
here's I
major
have
yeah.
free network. You're talking a major free network, NBC, ABC, CBS,
Mhm.
yeah, because
major
there's a
free network,
plenty of
not
shows on
cable.
streaming, but
Yeah. You
well
know,
here's my question though, because I think that it goes to something else. Do you think I mean I mean because the post Blackish there has been nothing, right? And I think growing up, you see the perception and the programming and the mindset of being able to see African American success in the diaspora in the States, right? Where you have black families that are nuclear families, and these people are not just doing well, they're doing amazing. You look at Uncle Phil and Vivian, the Cosbys, you look at Blackish, you look at those, and it's not a common thing, right? Because I think that in our culture, you don't necessarily see that, as something common in media, unfortunately, right? Even my first time seeing a king on the throne was T'Challa, Black Panther, and I got emotional, and they only showed him sitting on the throne for like 5 minutes. It made me real emotional,
Mhm.
because that's where we come from. We come from that, but yet the portrayal is very different in the media that we live in.
we
So,
have shows, and I'm thankful that we still are producing a lot of good shows. But I think to Justin's point, it is the family types of shows. Those sitcoms are not as frequent anymore. I mean, we got things like Abbott Elementary and Vince Staples show and stuff like that. The neighbor. Oh, actually, you know what? There's a show called The Neighborhood. You guys ever seen that?
Yeah,
With
it's pretty fun. Pretty
Cedric the
fun.
Entertainer.
It's
Cedric
pretty
the
fun.
Entertainer.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that one I feel like might be the one that I can think of that might fit that mold a little bit. But
Mm.
yeah, I can see it. I can see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I got a couple more, but I can pass it to somebody else in the meantime though.
Let's pass
So
it to Ryan. I feel like he's itching to jump in with
Got the
what Mike was
bit.
talking about. What you got? You
Chomping
got
at the bit. Yeah,
what you got?
chomping at the freaking bit. You know what I think? I look back, I think we have been, we're in this not the digital era right now. I think we're in the age of like technology and information and data right now, but we were in that technology wave or the digital age per se. It's grown, it's because now, the digital age was so long, it's grown into just the technology and the information age. And everything is just rapid right now with quantum technology and all this other stuff. But we grew up in the analog age. We had to do stuff by hand, right? So when it comes to reading, mathematics, all the skill sets that we have educationally, it came from an analog set first, right? I went through elementary school. We all did elementary school, middle school, high school, analog. And then it was what 21 years ago when my freshman year in college, then the internet became like kind of a bedrock thing where they're doing stuff by PDF, and then you had to get a laptop, right? And you had to submit things online, and you had to, be very aware of your email, and smartphones were just kind of coming into the fold, right? That was like we were right at the end of the generation of the flip phone.
yeah, kids
So,
nowadays will never know what it feels like to have to read an encyclopedia.
well, yeah, and so even with me, like I remember, like because being in real estate and appraisal, measuring buildings, and like the iPad goes out and you can't use a smart indicator, but being able to like understand geometry, you pull a pad out, you write the dimensions down, and you can do the order of operations and know how to do some of these things, and just even taking courses, whether it was in trade school or even the grad school now for me. I think that foundationally, like being able to work through problems and think critically analog without pulling out your phone, because now you can just pull out your phone and you can just ask Copilot. You can pull out your phone and you can ask Gemini, you can ask Claude or whatever AI tool or just the internet. You have that at your disposal versus having to think through things, having to actually read literature without it being summarized and cliff noted all the time, having to read through the theories and really think through them and practically put them on paper and put them into practice. So I think that we grew up through like kind of on this edge of two generations, the analog, the end of the analog era, the rise of the digital era, and blending into this new era right now of technology, mass computing and data. I think that it's equipped us on both sides, right? So now, we can move so much more fluidly. We can use the pen and pad if need be, but then we can also use the tablet, or the computer or the smartphone at the same time. And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't even have. Simple penmanship. Simple penmanship. You pull a notepad out and like, what's that? You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
now, I mean, my daughter who is, about to be 5 years old, they have tablets in her little school, right? Um, that's her notebook is a tablet. They have the little smart pad. It's not a piece of paper, it's a smart pad with a little, and she can erase it. And that's how they're learning to write. And it's same concept, but still, even that is digital at this point. So I think that that's a huge advantage. Because those skills, they come into play and they're tangible when it's something to be said about, things being kind of old school, right? Because I look at the generation previous and I think that there's a lot of skill sets that our father has and he's able to, benefit from that. But the younger guys that's a generation behind us, um, it's the same way with the pen and the pad and the digital items as it were. So that's something that I think that we benefited from that, unfortunately I think this next generation won't. So that's my 10 cents, not 2 cents. But there you go, Bobby. Back at you.
Okay. That was some good one. That's a good one. I got a few good ones, I think. Y'all remember gym class? And
I remember
I
how dangerous it was climbing
Gym
the
class
rope,
was the most
cli-
fun besides recess.
climbing the rope
okay,
100 feet in the air.
so that's
No
I think
To the
protection.
that's
ceiling.
where
Oh
that's what I
man.
was thinking about that.
Man, it was so
Climbing the rope, I
dangerous.
used to climb that rope all the way
With a
to
thin
the
pad at the
ceiling.
bottom of the on a concrete floor, the thin pad is like this big. If it breaks,
Yes,
you fall.
they ain't gonna help nothing if you fall. And then you slide down after you done got to the top. You slide down, got that rope burn. We
Mhm.
had
Lawsuits. The lawsuits.
we had this
Whew.
game that our te I think this was in elementary school.
The
A
90s and the
game
80s,
that
80s
our
and 90s
gym
were
teacher used to
terrible.
play. He called it helicopter. He had this big old long rope and like a bean bag on the end of the rope, and he had us
Jesus
stand in a circle around him, and he would
Christ.
like swing that thing, and you had to duck, and if he swung it at your feet, you had to jump up. If he hit you, then you out.
Oh
So
man.
helicopter, they ain't playing helicopter. They not climbing the ropes in gym class. We had to do push-ups. I was talking about this the other night. We had to do push-ups and put our chest to a block on the ground. If you couldn't
They was
touch your
training us for
chest to the
war.
ground or chest to the block, you had to do some more, right?
Mm.
And so a shout out to my old gym teacher, Mr. Chef. He was a tough one, but he ended up being my favorite teacher. Um, so yeah, we're not gonna see that type of gym class anymore. Um, that's one of them. Another one, just real quick to kind of pile on something that Justin mentioned about playing outside. Do y'all remember big wheels?
Yeah, of
Oh, the
course.
little bikes,
Yep.
Yeah, it was a little bike, but
little
it was a big
kindergarten
old
bikes.
plastic wheel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I remember, I feel like one of y'all had a big wheel. I don't think I had a big wheel, but I feel like
I
Ryan
think I
was.
might have had one.
Oh, I had a big wheel, man. We used to
Yep.
get it, man. Me and Millie.
And it would be the ones where, because it's plastic, it'll have a big old hole in that big wheel. And then you start riding it, and then it's still going, but you wobbly and stuff.
We used to be going on
Hmm.
86th Street. We used to be hit.
Yeah. I don't think I looked it up. I don't think they sell those the way in the same way that they used to. I don't think they have those models anymore. So those are just a couple of silly ones that I had.
Oh,
Um,
I got a. Oh, speaking of big
yeah.
wheels, hold on. I got one that a really good one
All
that
right.
we didn't mention yet, but I'll let you keep going though.
Okay. So the other thing that I don't think that kids well, I know they won't experience anymore because these are technologies that are long gone. But there was in order to figure out what movies were playing in the theater, we you could either look up the times in the newspaper, you could look them up. And I think that I don't know, they didn't have them in the TV guide, but the newspaper. But what I used to do, there was a phone number that you could call called MoviePhone.
MoviePhone.
You remember
Hmm.
MoviePhone?
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
And a voice would come on, entertaining voice. I
Yeah.
would just call. I
Just to
mean,
hear the
it'd be
voice.
fun just listening
Hello,
to the
you've
voice.
reached Movie Phone.
Right,
Which theater are you looking for?
right. And then you had to wait until they list out all of these theaters that are in your area, and then you
Hmm.
press the right number, whatever, to go to your theater. Then you have to wait until they list out every single movie and every single time until you got to the movie time combination that you want to go to.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, which was all right when we was growing up, when we got to be like tweeny boppers and preteens, which was the
Mhm.
movie theater that we always before it was Mayfair? Which one did we always did the
You mean
movie?
the budget movie
The
theater?
budget.
No, it's the other one.
Northtown.
Marcus Cinemas, Northtown Theaters. Remember that
Yeah.
one?
Yeah,
Yeah. But it was the budget first. It was
it
the
was the
budget
That,
budget
that
first.
was the
first.
one that Mama used to take us to when we was kids. But Marcus
Yep.
Cinema, man, I remember Marcus Cinema. I don't. Well, it's not. Of course, it's not there. It was across the street from Johnson's Creek, and Johnson's Creek went out of business when we was little. And then Marcus Cinema was the crown jewel of the North Side for a long time
You
before
know
they got
what movie theater I always regretted not ever going to?
which one?
Northridge had a movie theater that was like right on the left as soon as you entered the mall.
Oh,
No, but
And
Northridge had to close down before you was even. It closed down a
no,
little
I
bit.
remember I remember like I've been in Northridge plenty of times before it closed down. But like,
Northridge?
yeah,
what? Okay.
You
Northridge had
must
a
be
book.
you
I
must be
remember
thinking
this
about
vividly.
Southridge, Justin, because Northridge closed when I was
No,
like 7.
No, it was
Bobby,
there.
no.
It
It
was
was
there. I
there.
thought
It
it
was
was
there when
closed.
I was at least like 10.
Yeah, yeah. Northridge movie
10?
theater.
Yeah.
They had three movie theaters in there. It was three of them.
We can look up when it closed down, but I remember
Yeah, it
being at
was there.
Northridge, remembering that there was like always a door that was lit up with like a bunch of light bulbs. It's like to the left as soon as you walk through the door. Am I
So
right, Diddy?
this mean
Yeah, it was three
I
movie.
was like 12 years old. Okay.
It was
Bobby,
three movie
No, I
theaters.
never knew it. I thought
you
that it was closed down
you
too.
was
Maybe it
like
was a
15.
family.
So if you were like 15, you would know better. I feel like it closed when I was little, like less than
It
10.
I just looked it up. It closed in 2003.
Wow.
So I was 13 when it closed.
Jeez, Louise.
Your granddad
Demolished.
worked there, man.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
they just demolished the building this year.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
your
Yeah.
granddad
So,
worked there. Can you imagine that? He worked there. I used to go to, me and your mom used to go to the movie theater every Tuesday. That was the thing. Every Tuesday, that movie theater was just jumping. And yeah, it was only $1. So, I mean, hey, on a Tuesday night, man, come on, cheap day.
oh yeah, well that's they won't ever experience a $1 movie either unless it's on a Tuesday at like 10 o'clock in the morning. But I do remember going to visit Papa Walker when he worked there.
Mhm.
Really?
Related
Where did he work
I,
at?
related to he worked custodian.
Yeah, he's janitor.
Mhm. Related to this, real quickly, kids won't ever experience how exciting it was to go to Blockbuster
I
and
was
try to
gonna
get,
say that.
you know, say that,
I was
and
gonna say
trying to
that.
get the movie that you want to see, and hoping
Yep.
that behind that little box that had the movie cover, there was some VHS tapes behind it. And
Hmm.
if it wasn't, you out of luck, right? That was exciting to go in and try to get a movie from Blockbuster.
Hmm.
Now, everything is available. You don't
But
get
what was
that type of feeling
I know
anymore.
but
I
what
was
was even
excited. I know
better?
what section I was going to.
But
Yeah.
what was even better than Blockbuster that these kids will never get to experience?
Oh, that red box? Wait,
Toys
what?
R Us.
Yeah.
Toys R
I
Us.
love.
They
Oh yeah.
will never know the feeling of how it felt to go into Toys R Us
And played
and
Sega Genesis, Sonic the Hedgehog.
all the games.
You couldn't tell me nothing.
It was in like
You could
this
ride the bikes
wall.
in the hallway in the aisles.
Yeah,
Like
you can ride the bikes in the
you could
aisles. Yeah,
just
you
ride the
could.
bikes in the
Yeah.
aisles. And
Yeah.
It
like
was an experience, man.
It felt so big.
It
Yeah.
was.
Didn't
It
it
was
feel
an
big
experience.
like that? That Toys R Us store that we would go to felt
Wow.
so big back then.
Yeah. And
it was a
every
pretty big
clerk in there
size
looking for your
store.
mama. Yeah.
Huh?
Every clerk in there was looking for your mama to get the kids out of the doggone aisle from riding the bikes.
You're riding bikes, trying to
Hey,
grab
mama.
games.
Oh
Yeah.
Oh,
man. Toys R Us was like an experience that like it was like it besides like Chuck E. Cheese, like Toys R Us was like your favorite place on earth as a kid.
That's
And
very
so
true. That's very true. Now,
yeah.
when we got older, this is another one. When we got older, um, and say we were in high school, the place for us to be was at the mall, right?
Hmm.
So just going to the mall to hang out, no kind of money. Maybe you got some money to go and eat a little something, or if you lucky, you got enough money to go to the movies. But most of the time, you just going and hanging out with your friends at the mall and window shopping and not buying nothing. And that was a whole
Or,
Saturday,
or to
right? Or
meet
afternoon or
girls,
whatever,
right?
or to meet girls. And
Right.
now, if you, I don't know when the last time y'all was at a mall, but we were at a mall. I think last weekend we went to the mall. It a lot unless it's the holidays.
Hmm.
Most of the time it's pretty quiet now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Amazon and online shopping pretty much killed the whole structure of like malls or the need to go in person to buy things that you want. I mean, because like, what's more convenient, buying it on your phone or actually going up to the mall and going to get it yourself? So I feel like
So
Amazon pretty much kind of killed the mall. You know, I'm
when not
surprised.
even
I'm honestly surprised malls are still around.
Well, not even just that though. I think that like Walmart, Target, a lot of the like the bigger retailers, Costco, they jumped on the e-commerce bandwagon when COVID happened. That was like the demise of it. But the places that are still alive are the places that, I call them like the central meeting places, like, the city centers of the world, the Memorial City malls, or even Katie Mills, or like the Mills sort of places where they not only bring together shops, boutiques, entertainment. They usually have stuff like if you want to go to a nice movie theater, have a good movie theater experience, you go there. They have lounges and speakeasies, and places that you can do multiple things, and then they'll have like a hotel. Right. So you have to have the space be multi-dimensional, make it so people can come. It can't just be one dimensional, like, old, prior generational mall where now, people are looking to do more things. If I go out, if I want to go have a good time and I'm far into the city, I can maybe go party, eat, go see a movie, and if I don't feel like going home, get a room. Right. Um, and that's what you need. So I think those are the places that are staying, that are keeping business, and the places that are not adapting are losing business. And then, like transforming the spaces into different like different sorts of, with the times, if you lose a lease, bring something else in, refresh it, that's more hip. But yeah, I think that's kind of the nature of it. Too bad Northridge wasn't able to survive. Southridge, last time I went to Milwaukee, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, was thriving.
Yeah.
Milwaukee, yeah, and Northridge is just,
You know, I've only been to Southridge maybe like once in my entire life.
and it's super nice.
Mm.
Super nice. It was just the nicest place.
Daddy, you want to say
Opening at
something?
the Galleria Mall, though. I mean, the Galleria,
Oh yeah.
here is just, it's an experience. It's the Galleria experience. It has the Houston National Christmas tree every year. Um, you
Skating
know,
rink.
Skating is huge. Every
Mhm.
major store wants to be in the Galleria. I know the rent is super high, but I mean, it's the centerpiece. I mean, people go to the Galleria. If you come to Houston, you're going to go to the Galleria. First time I was here, I went in there and I saw, the Tesla shop. I'm like, oh, they're selling cars in the mall. I never saw that before. That was years ago, and then the Cadillac store was there. I'm like, good Lord, they're selling everything up in here. But it's the mall experience, unlike any mall experience, the Galleria. And like you said, Ryan, they got everything around it to attract people. The
Hmm.
movies, the hotels, the restaurants. You just don't shop, I mean, you go out there and you can spend a day, you
Hmm.
can spend a weekend,
Yeah.
literally. Downtown Houston, you can do it.
Hmm. That's definitely true. That's definitely true.
Daddy, you
Yeah.
got any more? You got another one you want to talk about?
Yeah, I look at the kids now, like you guys are saying, and it's like a lot of them nowadays have not experienced these little things, I call them manual things, where you don't need any technology, you don't need any gadgets or anything, just to go outside, just to do something. I can remember you guys even drawing, sit down and just draw something you know.
Mhm.
And I see that with Soraya and Layla now, where they don't have all the technology in front of them and they're using their skill set to maybe draw something, the simple things. Kids get away from that now. And I mean, to me, it seems like, I don't know, it may handicap them later on in life, where if the mechanical or the technology wasn't around, there's no backup plan,
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, kind
It didn't
of
exist,
crazy.
and it
Yeah,
wasn't an
but
option for us.
Like if the internet went down, what would you
yeah.
do? Like what would you do? You got to think like back in the 80s. in the 90s, when the internet was just, I mean, it existed only to send like messages between companies or whatever the case may be, like, and that was considered a luxury to be able to ping somebody. You get like a thing on the screen, but that was pretty much it for until the night. Like it really got more comprehensive in the 90s. I think that it's funny if the Wi-Fi went down and we all couldn't use technology, how would people deal? Right? If we couldn't use Zoom, if we
Read a
couldn't use
book.
FaceTime, yeah, read a book. Like just for, I mean, because it's in my lifetime, right? You had you will have to watch your shows at a certain time. You have to be in front of the TV. You have to remember everyone's numbers. I remembered everyone's number
By
um,
heart.
You had
by
to
heart,
watch
and
the
I was
commercials.
yeah. You got to watch the commercials. Um, Things were a lot slower. The days seemed a lot longer. So then if I got bored in the house, I would go outside and shoot the basketball, right? And then just sit outside. Daddy may be doing something in the garage. I'll just sit outside and talk to him, right? There was no like, or I'll go ride my bike down to Alex's house and go skip rocks on a pond somewhere and play basketball over at Stewart. It was like, and the day just kind of went slower. You kind of enjoyed it more. Now the hours seem to get ate up real fast.
Well, I mean, there
Yeah.
was there was time to be bored also. I
Hmm.
think
Mhm.
that I'm not necessarily saying that we had it better than kids nowadays, because if I had access to a phone back then and I didn't have to be bored, then I wouldn't have chosen to just, stare at a wall. Or, so I think that it's there are some positives with kids having the technologies that they have and the access that they have, but I think it good in moderation, and
Mm.
everything has to be balanced out.
Right. I
Um,
agree.
real one that I had, so I had a different topic. Did anybody want to say anything more about that, or y'all good with me changing?
Yeah, I'm good. Right.
Okay, so this one, I'm not trying to bring the mood down, but when we were growing up, the the idea of going to college, uh, like we go to college because we know that when we graduate, we're gonna have a job, and that door is going to be open for us to get a job that will pay well enough for us to be able uh, to grow and be able to strive for something better, right? To get to that place that we feel like we should be, right? That we've always dreamed of, and it felt almost like it was a guaranteed ticket to success. And now, uh, I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore, right? There's so many folks that graduate from college nowadays that have to go back and figure things out, right? And it's not right now, at least. You get out of college and there's a lot of different offers for you, and it's easy to get a job, and and then you have a pathway to success. So that's something that I wish this generation could experience more of. I think it also relates to like a economy that is strong and thriving, right? The sense that the American dream is attainable, that home ownership is attainable, right? That we can get a job that allows us to build an income that will take us somewhere, right? That felt like 10, 20 years ago, right? That was something that we didn't even think about. Like, of course, right? We gonna work hard, and then that's just what's gonna happen, unless we derail ourselves. Now, I think the kids coming up, it's a lot that's stacked against them. And for sure, they all can succeed, and I hope that they all will succeed. But I think it's more difficult to get there because there are some things that are stacked against them. Affordability, right? I mean, that's all in the news, politics, and everything. But it's a real thing, right? That homes. I mean, you think about homes where in the state that I live in, it's crazy expensive, right, and unaffordable. And it's not just here; it's all around. And that's something that I feel a little, not a little, I feel really bad about the fact that kids that, like my kid, Ryan's kid, folks that are you may be a little older than them growing up, they might have it harder than we did, we ever did.
Yeah. Looking at that, when I graduated college, um, and I first got hired, um, I worked for a major catalog company, you know, and we got hired in classes. And I don't know if they hire like that anymore, but I know they don't. It's an individual hire, but they hired us in classes. My class of 1980 consisted of 20 people, 20 managers, and we all got hired together. We all went through the same, now you're talking about the same building in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. 20 people hired at the same time, going through the same um, classes, orientation classes. And this orientation lasted 3 months or so. And at the end of that 3 months, you got your assignment as to where you were going to go. And, you worked within the system as, you go through your orientation and all of that. But they put us on a path of management success, I guess you want to call it. And a lot of those folks, when I left that company, I worked there 12 years. A lot of them were still there from my 1980 class. And I don't think kids will experience that type of employment experience. Basically you were hired at a basic salary. You all had the same basic opportunities to go up the ladder and all of this good stuff. And during that 11 years, I saw some of the guys get promoted and all that stuff. Some people left, but you don't see that type of process anymore. You just don't. And, everybody wants to, if you get your college degree, the doors will be open for you. Not so much now. It's a different type of a situation. The atmosphere is different now. Competition is more. You got a lot of things that are going on with companies and budgets now. It's just not the way it was anymore. It's a whole different world now. And I think kids won't have that opportunity to come in. And I don't say it's as easy as I did, but with that type of a system, a support system in a company anymore. It just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, and with the whole AI, revolution that we're facing, it kind of puts another element against them to where, now we have a lot of people getting, replaced, because of AI. But like, this kind of goes full circle. But for what we first talked about is like, that's why a lot of these kids are kind of foregoing college and entering the trades that don't necessarily need a college degree to enter. So that's why you see a lot of kids now becoming like electricians and HVAC technicians and carpenters and all of these things that you can just become an apprentice to someone, learn on the job, and then make your way from there. And they're making 80 grand out the gate at 18. And so like that's how they're combating that. And so like I feel like you know, even though it's a much different, American dream that we had to deal with, whereas like, education is the key to success. I think their American dream is, working with your hands is the new key to success. And it's like, college may not be that key anymore. It's like, working with your hands, doing these mechanical jobs, that don't require you to go into, a mountain of debt. In many ways, they're kind of operating a little bit smarter because a lot of people who, graduated with a college degree who have a decent paying salary, a lot of them are still paying off a lot of debt. And so a lot of these kids are kind of seeing these things and, kind of moving accordingly. And so like I kind of commend them for, having a strategy to kind of be their workaround. And so I guess that's the silver lining in it.
There's one more that I can think of. Part of that silver lining is Ryan, I think, mentioned this information. We're in an information data age, right? All of whatever information you can think of is available. And that was frustrating to me when we were younger, wanting to learn something and not knowing where to go get the information, right? The wanting to learn how to build a business and not and feeling like I needed to find some random person out here who had done it already so that I can rub elbows and maybe they'll let me in on one little nugget, one little secret that they have, right? To get me started in that direction. Or feeling like I need to go and take 1,000 business courses at a university to learn how to become an entrepreneur. Now that opportunity is there for everybody. And I think it is I mean, it's available equally for everybody. The younger kids, I think, are at a place and they have the mindset where they will take advantage of it more than anybody else. And so they can, and maybe those old jobs because of AI, traditional jobs because of AI might not necessarily be as plentiful, or maybe college doesn't automatically equal success anymore. But what they can do is they can start to build businesses. They can start to build companies of their own and be their own bosses. And I envy that, right? If I had that opportunity when I was 15, 16 years old, 18 years old, I might have thought a little bit differently about what my career, my long-term career may have, what I would have chosen. So I think the world is out there for, for these younger kids. And it's different. It still can be exciting, I think, too.
Let me say one thing about that too, because I, I can go in a number of different directions, but coming from my own personal experience, I think that um, one thing I would encourage is, in order for you build yourself. I had to build myself, and sometimes you have to take the opportunities that are presented to you. Back when I was getting my career off the ground, I needed a job. Right now, I've always been in the trades, and I've gotten into this very specific trade in real estate that I actually love. I'm still working towards my destiny and in my purpose, but it's within my purpose, the scope of my purpose. I still, want to do a specific thing, and God is working, but I had to work in different industries to be able to make money, right? So I mean, and I learned different skill sets with that. So I worked in auctions as a car appraiser. I worked in retail as a manager, getting it, and I had to take those opportunities. I mean, so I can make a salary, so I can get my foot in the door, and then I grew those skill sets from there, and it wasn't handed to me. Those jobs were hard. I mean, my career is challenging now, but I'm more refined of a as a man, more comprehensive now to where I can deal with the stress, I can deal with the training, I'm more refined. I've learned all those skill sets, but in those different iterations, through those different seasons, it grew me. So I think a lot of the times when you come out of college, you don't expect that people are gonna hand you something. So if you want to be some specific sort of manager or director in a specific industry, you may not get that opportunity, right? You may get an opportunity in a totally different area, in a totally different industry that has nothing to do with your career or your career choice, right? But that's the opportunity. So take that opportunity and learn. Keep God first so you can get the wisdom to figure out what it is that you actually want to do. but a lot of the times he made me, God will take you in different places and meander you through a trail so you can figure out what it is that you want to do. Because I think a lot of the times in the marketplace, younger people will pass up on opportunities that they should take and learning lessons that they'll learn, and they'll stay unemployed for long periods of time. And then sometimes they'll quit once the going gets tough. I mean, I've had some hard, jobs in the trade, trenches, being outside in cold weather, boots in the mud, but I had to do all of that to get to the point that I'm at now, right? It's everybody don't want to be outside in the rain, being dirty with big old steel toe boots on and working on cars and or just out measuring a skyscraper and it's like, cold outside, windy, right? Everybody doesn't want to do that, but you have to do that if that's, you have to do certain things to build yourself to get to that point. And I'll say this about education. I'm constantly learning. I think that it's a good thing to be a nerd. You need to know what's happening in the world. You have to know what's happening in your community. That's why I think that degrees, I don't think that they necessarily, I think, I don't really put a high emphasis on degrees. I think that, for me personally, it's a way to learn. It's a way to take information, put an analysis to it, and be able to put, you draw a production output from a degree. Some people are able to just do that with the internet. I need to have my learning structured, so I have to go through these different stages of degrees, right? That's why I'm working towards this PhD and stuff like that to be able to get there. So I'm learning. But if you can learn through trades or just, extract this stuff, build your business, find your niche, but however you analyze information and data, learn, but continually learn, right? Whether it's through the trades, just through the internet, self-taught mentorship, formalizing the education like I've gone through, but always learn and be able to try to, like I say, keep God first and try to connect those dots so you can be as comprehensive as you possibly can and have grit. When the going gets tough, usually your greatest blessing comes out on the other end. Because my career still isn't easy. I still often call Daddy, and I'll talk to him or I'll talk to either one of you, Bobby or Justin, and I'm tired sometimes, right? Because I'm working. Right. But I have the benefit because of all the work has brought me to this point to where now I can maneuver in industry and you want to be able to build yourself to that point. So I think don't ever, for any of these folks that are younger that are coming out of college, don't ever think that anything is going to be handed to you because when you look at people that actually have something, they've built it and they worked hard for it. It was a struggle for me. Right. And I still even treat the kind of well-decorated career that I have now as a struggle. I'm up real late at night and I'm up real early the next day working hard at my craft, right? And I think that's what has to be that's what has to happen. You have to have that unction within you to get up and do the mundane every day to get to the point where you want to go to break through those glass ceilings and have those options and be excellent in everything you do. So,
Let me
yeah.
just say on something like into that though. I forwarded you guys an article from your Uncle Cleo. It's called Fear is What Will Make You Stop. If you get a chance, you put that out on LinkedIn and look at that. It kind of it's a segue into, if you have any fears about what you want to do in life, what obstacles, fear is what will make you stop. You can't have any fear in what you want to do, you know. Fear not is what, I think the motivating factor of that article is that, he has some strategies in there that really make you think about things, professionally and in your personal life. So, take a look at that. I always want to promote stuff. So Cleo Franklin, he's out there on LinkedIn. Look at that. Fear is what makes you stop, And so a lot of young kids, man, I mean, I don't want to do it. I'm afraid to do it. What happens? You stop. You don't want to do it. Could have got you ahead in life. So look at those things.
Absolutely. Faith is the opposite of fear.
Right.
Hmm.
And with that, I think that's probably a good place to close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
You
thanks
guys,
everybody for joining us for another episode, another time at the Walk Around Table. Please like, share, and subscribe. We will be coming to you again soon with the next episode. But please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you.
All right, God bless. Have a good evening.
Take care.